We're here at Sklar Studios today with Victor Sansone. He has created all this fabulous oil paintings that you see here at the gallery today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about why he decided to create this series.
Well, when I originally started, I was doing landscapes. And then I said I wanted to do Native American art because I love that culture. And I was doing that, but every time I would do a new piece, people, the first thing they would ask is if I was Native American. And if I said no, it was almost like this veil would come down, like I wasn't worthy because I wasn't Native American. So I said, well, I want to find my niche. And then one day I was at the cloisters in Manhattan, and I loved how the perspective of the bricks and everything as you look down the hall. So I went home and I tried to replicate that whole illusion. And when I did, I had the window, and I was like, what do I put in the window? And I thought about it. I said, well, what if I throw the earth in the window? That'll mess with people's heads. Like, well, how could that be earth if this is where I'm at? And I did that, and it received a lot of positive applause from people. So I said, well, maybe this is my niche. I started putting the earth in everything. And so I did a second piece where I put the earth in, and again, that was received very well. So from there I said, well, let me do 12 pieces with the earth in it, so maybe one day I can do a calendar, and each month would have a different earth painting in it, you know? Well, 30 pieces later, I have enough for 2 calendars and a half. So I could do an 18-month calendar or, you know. But anyway, then after that, I started doing something which we'll show another time, where I added real objects to the paintings so that the fantasy becomes reality. And that's what I'm pretty much doing now. But this is all part of pretty much the Earth series, except for the one at the end, which is the World Trade Center.
Can you walk us through to it?
Sure. This piece here, when I do this, I always felt as though that building was more of a nurturing place. I started working in it. It was still building the building when I started working in there. And I made friendships, got married, had children. So my life was basically built around these 2 buildings and the job I held in there. And when it came down, I lost 9. I mean, I had many friends, but 9 of them were personal friends. And when I lost them, I wanted to do something for their memory. So I got pieces of steel from the World Trade Center. What happens when the building came down, they brought to every facility a chunk of the steel, and they cut it up into pieces and gave each one of us that worked there a piece. So I took my piece and I cut a slice off and carved them out to look like birds. And if you look behind here, each piece has a magnet. So you each have a magnet that holds it in place. But every time I exhibit this piece, I take them down, and when I put them back up, they never go back the same way they were before.
Fascinating.
So it's kind of a Zen thing, because it constantly moves, which is what I dig about that. You know,
beautiful.
This piece here was funny because this, I had my brother called me up on a really hot summer day, and he said, I got a good idea for you. Why don't you do the earth as an ice cream cone? And I'm not good with people asking me to do something. Like I tell people, I have to see it here. I have an eye in here that has to see it. And when he told me that, I was able to see it, because I love playing with perspective and making things look round when they're not. So anyway, I saw this and I did it. Now I was exhibiting this piece, and I didn't introduce myself as the artist, and some people were standing around looking at it, and they're going, he's a genius, he's depicting the melting of the ice caps. When in reality, it was my brother called me up on a hot summer day and said, why don't you do this? So the beautiful thing about surrealism is people will see what they want to see. So although I may have an idea in my head, what you see may not be what I saw. And that's fine with me. I'd rather hear what you saw. In fact, I believe it was Salvador Dali who said, if I want to insult you, I'll tell you what it means. Which I kind of understand. I'd rather you see what you see. Who am I to rip that away from you? If you see something in there, why would I take that away from you? And it just basically it came down to different ideas. At Christmas time, I thought about, you know, the earth as a gift or an ornament on a tree. So I came up with that. Also, I love working with hands. I was always told that if you can draw hands, you can draw anything. And because there's so many things in a hand that you have to capture in order to give that illusion, that you really have to know what you're doing with hands. And I don't. I just got lucky, and they
Your
come
hands are
out.
beautiful.
And they come out. So,
How about this one with the bees?
Again, it was just an idea I had one day. I said, what? The earth is kind of like our source, and this is the land of milk and honey. In fact, that's the title of that piece, is Land of Milk and Honey. But it's not just a piece, it's the whole earth is. And just as the beehive gives a place for the bees to sustain their life and everything, I hope that my paintings do that too, because that's what the earth is. This one here, I used to love when I used to go to the dentist and they had those magazines. I think what were those magazines called? Highlights. Oh my
Highlight
gosh,
magazines. I just saw them recently.
And they used to have the little part in it where you could find the hidden images and stuff like that. And I used to sit in that dentist's office for hours waiting for my appointment, and I'd sit there and do them all the time. So when I got older, I said, I want to do a piece like that. So I said, well, I want to hide the earth in here and let somebody find it. So I stayed with my theme, but the earth is actually in the bud of that one flower right there.
It's gorgeous.
And I love the flowers. And again, I never was trained for this, so everything is hit and miss. But I got lucky. I mean, I actually could see the bell and the flowers, and I could see the leaves, the depth in them and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's beautiful. And I love the separation of the flowers too, that you don't have them all grouped together, so they individually kind of speak to you,
And
separate the two.
that's
Can
me
you
and
tell
my
us
daughter.
again,
Yeah,
one of the things that I love the most is when you were telling me the story of how important your daughter is to you and how you bring yourselves together in your artwork.
Yeah, when I got divorced, it was important for me to make sure my daughter realized that she still was the number one light in my life. So every piece I made after that, I put two of, and each time I would complete a piece, I would tell her, where are we? And she would go in and find us. And it just was a little thing I did for me and her, but it makes it more personal.
It's very
And this
touching.
piece, this is me and her, and the fact that we're crossed over and touching segregates it from the other flowers that is by themselves.
I love that. I really honor that about your work.
Thank you. And there's this piece here. My daughter was only about 7 years old at the time I did this, and she just woke up, so there's nothing wrong with her mentally. But she came up, and when she saw the flames, she went to touch them as if they were real. And I thought that was so cool, because if I could create that illusion to give somebody to see something that isn't what it is, but appears to be, to the point where you actually thought maybe it might be hot, that was cool. No pun intended. This piece here I was exhibiting at one show I gave, and a guy came up to me and said, I want to take a picture of it and have it tattooed on my leg, if that would be okay. And I was like, I'd be, flattered if you did that. So I don't know if he ever did.
I love the colors that you have.
Yeah, I love magenta, and I was able to really hide a lot of magenta in here, and in here you could see it, and without making it obvious that it was magenta, because magenta is a very harsh color, very hard color, but if you blend it and you mix it in, it becomes very, very warm, and it's almost like a life. I call it a life color, because it looks like it has life to it.
It's gorgeous.
And then this piece here was like for Salvador Dali, who I guess I admired growing up, and said I always loved his work. And he did the clocks, I believe that was called Perception of Time. I forgot what the name of that was. But anyway, it was the clocks melting. And I said I wanted to do something with the earth and how we're passing it from one generation to the next, to the newest generation, and what they're getting left with by the time it gets to them.
Beautiful.
Which is
The
pretty
hands
good.
on this are just so intricate
Thanks.
and beautiful. Well,
But I could see error in it. When I look at them, I look and say, that didn't come out right.
is there ever an artist
No.
that doesn't see an error in their
I think
own
that's
work?
necessary. I do. I think that's fodder. That's what gives you to go on and do another piece and hopefully do it better. So,
Are there any questions from the audience? Anything you're interested in knowing?
all of you out there, there must be at least 100 of you.
Is there techniques in the art?
Have you ever done pancakes in your art?
Have I ever done pancakes? Yeah, it's in the, it's right in here.
Oh, now you're making me hungry. Victor, thank you so much for joining us
thank you.
today. We really appreciate you exhibiting your work
Well,
here.
I appreciate your interest.
And we look forward to having you again at the gallery.
Yeah, I'd like to do another one with the pieces that are real objects coming out.
That'd be perfect.
I see Beyonce and Bee.
But thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.